in recent news, the New York City State fiscal year 21-22, the budget has officially passed the legislature after the state Senate and state assembly passed the budget at the beginning of the month. Now, the state's massive $212 billion budget comes to significantly reshape New York City with taxing its wealthiest residents and providing much needed relief for thousands more. Joining me now to share more details on this matter, I'm joined by the New York State Senator of District 33, Senator Gustavo Rivera. And welcome here to the Social Justice Forums, Senator Rivera.
It is a pleasure to be back, my brother. What's going on?
Well, let's get at it. Let's talk. I mean, you guys passed the budget, 21-22, and yeah, a lot of spending, but definitely on the parts of people in the inner city, a lot of questions about these tax cuts, or I should say the taxation. Walk us through your assessment of how you felt the budget went, because you voted to pass it.
So first of all, I'll tell you, so I've been in the legislature for 11 years, and I can tell you without a doubt that this is the most progressive budget that we have ever passed. There were times, actually, this is a true story. So usually do like a press release, right? The day after we passed the budget, saying these are the things that we were able to achieve. And there were a couple of things that I was paying particular attention to: the health budget, an excluded workers fund, and revenue, which we'll obviously talk about. But then I was reading the press release draft, and I was calling my chief of staff and says, we did all this stuff too. So there was just so much that we were able to achieve. You are correct. It is $212 billion, and it is an enormous budget. But I will tell you, a lot of it is federal money that's coming in from the rescue package in direct response to the COVID crisis that we had last year. And we believe that it is necessary to actually put this money into the state to be able to recover it. You asked about taxes, and we did achieve taxes on the wealthy. We got $4.5 billion more in revenue by taxing the wealthy, which is something that I believe we need to do. I think we need to go farther, but for the moment, this is money that is going to go to helping out the most vulnerable in the Bronx and across the state.
Talk to me about community-based organizations, because they always, we've had several shows where they've talked about the budget cuts to services. Given the fact that we're coming out of COVID-19, a lot of organizations felt that they would be possibly on the receiving end of cuts towards services. Were you pleased with what you were able to do in maintaining services for organizations?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing I'll say is that as I'm the chair of the health committee in the Senate, and we were able to do things in the budget as it relates to health. First of all, we restored potentially devastating Medicaid cuts. This governor has been cutting Medicaid for most of the time that he's been governor, but we were able to get most of those cuts back. We continued to regulate and reform our state's nursing homes, which were so impacted. There's so many deaths that we saw of our neighbors who were nursing home residents, so many deaths that happened there. So we need to reform nursing homes, and we did a lot in the state budget related to making sure that nursing homes spend more money on direct patient care. And we got more to do on that regard, but we also were able to secure there's something called the 340B program, and the very short story is that this helps safety net hospitals as well as federally qualified health centers to be able to get discounts on drug purchases so that they can use that savings, that money, to serve vulnerable communities with wraparound services. And all of these things we were able to secure in there. And this is not even to mention the historic education funding, and I know you'll get to that, but I just want to make sure that I repeat it here. We in the state were able to finally fulfill our responsibility to schools in the state, and we did it this year. So again, I think that it was an incredible budget, one that I was incredibly proud to fight for and to vote for.
One of the things that we do talk about, and you uplifted it right there, was the education. And there was an addendum, and there was more money put towards education. We've heard it from teachers, we've heard it from parents, we've heard it from students, the need for educational reform economically. Talk to me about what was accomplished educationally in the bill for people at home.
Okay. So there was something many years ago, and at this point, almost 30 years ago, there was a lawsuit that was brought against the state of New York that was ultimately called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity, or CFE lawsuit. It argued very simply that the state had underfunded schools, particularly in the city of New York, for many, many years, and the impact that had on schools all across the state was enormous. And the lawsuit was fought and ultimately won in the courts, but The fact is that even though the courts ordered the state to make good on the promise to pay back that money, we hadn't done so. But this year, we actually were able to secure that funding so that by 2023, every single school in the state, including schools in the Bronx that are high needs, will receive all of the funding that they have been owed. There's a particular formula called the foundation aid formula. And this again will make sure that these folks, that these places are funded fully. We also were able to secure, just in the 33rd district, I'm very proud to say that I was able to secure at least $650,000 for local organizations, including senior centers, community centers, free legal health providers, et cetera. And this was, and this was as well, again, all of it is around the idea of making sure that we invest in the communities that were most impacted by COVID-19. So I'm very happy that we were able to achieve all of those things.
A lot of people still worried about coming out of COVID-19, particularly small businesses, restaurants, and the like. Give us your take on the budget and how that will be able to assist possibly businesses and or restaurants at a time such as this, where they really are bleeding.
The first thing that I'll say that we were able to get about $1 billion in investment from New York small businesses, and this is to supplement. To supplement, I should say, not to supplant, but to supplement federal aid. We know that small businesses all across the state, many of them have sadly or tragically closed down. Others have been able to hold on for dear life. And we know that we need to provide them assistance. So I would say that I'm hoping that when this program goes out, you can put the number of my office right underneath me, right here, to say 718-933-2034. I hope that that number appears there when this goes online. Because I think that it's important for people to be in contact with my office so that whether it relates to small business services, that funding that we were able to secure, whether it is to make sure that they understand exactly what the education funding meant, or if they are excluded workers, because that's another thing that we were able to secure. This is a historic excluded workers fund for those folks who were ineligible for unemployment insurance during the pandemic. We were able to secure over $2 billion for those workers, and we're going to make sure that that gets to people all across the state and certainly here in the Bronx. And all of those things we were able to achieve.
Talking to another one of your colleagues, they said it like this: this is no Robin Hood budget where we are robbing the poor to give to the rich. In fact, it's the other way around. The first time ever that wealthy millionaires and billionaires will receive taxation. Talk to us about, well, in taxation in this kind of form, talk to us about that and how important was that for you, given the fact that in your district, you have so many people that are living in abject poverty and so many people struggling to make it from day to day.
You know, the reality, and this is something that I've spoken about many times. I mean, the district that I represent, that I'm very proud to represent, is a working class and poor district that unfortunately has been impacted. You know, whenever, you know, it is said that when the city gets the cold, a place like the Bronx gets the flu, because you have so many health inequities, you have folks on high unemployment, you have high crime in certain areas. So all of this means that places like the Bronx need more resources to be able to withstand all of these impacts. And I was very proud to be part of a campaign called Invest in Our New York. And the message was very simple. We have wealthy individuals, millionaires and billionaires in the city and the state of New York, who have become even wealthier and wealthier during the pandemic. We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars wealthier in the time that the rest of us have suffered in places like my district, certainly, and in the Bronx. So we believe that it was important to get to tax the wealthy so we can invest in our New York. And we were able to achieve some of that to the tune of $4.5 billion more in revenue. And that means that the education funding that we're talking about, the excluded workers fund, all of these cuts to Medicaid that we had to fight back, we were able to pay back for them. And all of the business, the money that we got for small businesses, all of these things we're able to fund because we believe that we need to invest in our New York, to invest in our vulnerable communities. That is the way that we gain stability, that we gain prosperity for everybody. So I was very glad to do it. Again, I believe that we need to tax the wealthy more. But for the moment, $4.5 billion more in revenue this year that we were able to achieve was a big, big victory.
Coming out of COVID, and we're not out of it yet, but certainly it seems as though the worst is definitely over. We're on to the vaccination phase. Give us an update as to how things are going in your senatorial district.
We are still, first of all, I will say very clearly, I am House Moderna, by the way. I got the Moderna vaccine. I got my second one just a few weeks ago. And I will say very clearly, for the record, vaccine is safe, it is effective, and it is necessary. And as of right now, we're recording this on April 28th, and this was, I think it was as of yesterday, a couple of days ago, but certainly whenever you're seeing this, if you are over 16 years old, you can walk in to any vaccination site, which again, we can help you to find by calling the number. I'm going to do it again, 718-933-2034. I'm sure I'm not pointing at exactly the right number, but I hope the number is there, because you can connect to my office and we'll make sure that you can get to a walk-in clinic so that you can get your vaccination there, safe, effective, and necessary. We are still a little bit below some of the percentages that we need to be, particularly considering that some of the zip codes that I represent were the ones that had some of the highest incidences of hospitalization and deaths. To be able to get some level of normalcy, to be able to go and see your parents, to be able to get together with your friends, you need to be vaccinated. So make sure that you get vaccinated. They're safe, they're effective, they're necessary. And you, if you're over 16 and a New Yorker your immigration status doesn't matter, your age, as long as you're over 16, doesn't matter, just walk into a clinic, a vaccination site, which we can help you find so that you can get vaccinated yourself.
Are you hearing a lot about hesitancy still? I mean, we know that in communities of color, there is this hesitancy. A lot of people are very much concerned about whether or not the vaccine is going to be effective. And of course, they know previous issues in healthcare disparities have led to a lot of questions. What are you hearing still? Are you finding that it's a hard job to convince many to go ahead and get vaccinated, or are people going willingly?
I think it's half and half. There are some people who are a little hesitant. I've met many folks on the street. We've actually done, working along with one of my federally qualified health centers, the Union Community Health Center, where you can get on 188th and Valentine, where you can get vaccinated yourself as well. Well, working along with them, we've actually been walking around my district, Fordham Road, the Belmont area, et cetera, talking to Kingsbridge Road, talking to different folks. And so I found that most people follow their advice, put the mask on. A lot of folks are vaccinated and some folks are open to it. There's a few who have hesitancy. And I will tell you that I believe this, I've had it myself. It is safe, it is effective, it is necessary. There is some level of hesitancy, but I would actually point folks, we actually had a town hall, a virtual town hall, in which I had doctors who this is what they do for a living. They serve, not only are they doctors, but they were doctors of color who serve in communities of color and understand that there's a history of hesitancy because of the way that inequities have been built into the system. And we understand that, but it is precisely because those inequities exist that vaccination is so important, because our communities are more at risk. We're the ones that died more. We're the ones that went to hospitals more, which means that we need to make sure that we get vaccinated more. I am encouraging everybody to do it, to go to my Facebook page and see that town hall that actually goes into an explanation of it, and hear from people who are credible messengers. Don't go down that YouTube rabbit hole that's going to tell you that this is something that's going to put, microchips in you, et cetera. It is necessary, it is effective, it is safe. So please, 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 you and all your family get vaccinated.
A part of this conversation is really about navigating COVID-19 and really coming over and trying to come through it, really. When you look at where we are right now, we're on the other side safely, hopefully right now. Most of us can say that. We're seeing New York City open up a little bit more. That's good news for businesses. That's good news for restaurants. But give me your take, because when we talk to business owners, we talk to restaurants, a lot of frustration on the part that this PPP came out and New York City seemed to get most of the money. The Bronx, very small amounts, if any. First of all, your reaction to that, and secondly, the plan moving forward.
So first thing I will tell you is that we are not done with this. It's like we might be done with COVID-19, but COVID-19 is not done with us. So we still have to be careful. This is why vaccinations are so important. I still wear my mask outside. I still wash my hands on a regular basis. I still keep social distance when I can. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I want to make sure that I protect other folks. It is a small price to pay to have a mask on your face is a small price to pay to make sure that you don't get the disease. And if you have it, and even if it's not impacting you, that you don't spread it. But we are close to the end. I do believe that we are close to the end, particularly since we have an administration in DC that, unlike the prior one, actually cares about science, cares about people's well-being, and is using national resources to be able to secure the resources necessary to make sure that we are safe and that we're vaccinated. So as far as small businesses, I think that we are slowly but surely ramping it up. I know that there's some of the governor's dictates that we eliminated today related to restaurants, related to being able to purchase drinks, having to have people had to buy like fries to be able to buy a drink. If you wanted to do it at a bar or what have you, which was an impact on bars and small businesses that sell alcohol. That there are other directives that we were able to change. But this is a work in progress, and this is why I will say again that there is money available to supplement the stuff that we got from the federal government. In the state, we were able to secure $1 billion, and in the next couple of months we're going to be distributing it. So to do that, to make sure that you can find out exactly how to apply for that, how to get your small business to apply, I'm going to do one more time. 718-933-2034. If you contact my office, we can help to connect you with the resources that are available to you if you're a small business owner.
Well, running short on time, but let me get this question about vaccine equity too. We just talked about it just a few seconds ago. But are you pleased? Do you feel as though there's equity going across the district in terms of places where people can now be vaccinated?
We're a little bit better now. If we had this conversation a month and a half ago, I was certainly going to be pulling my hair out, and I barely have any, but I was going to pull it out because I do think that the state did not do effective enough job, and they did a very good job of saying that they were caring about equity and making sure that vaccination sites were distributed to places that were more in need, but that wasn't necessarily the case. We are in a better place now, however. There is a larger percentage of people that are vaccinated, which means that the demand has been lowered a little bit, which means that we have more places available so that people can go and get vaccinated. As I said earlier, you can walk in if you're over 16. You can walk into any site. You needed just a couple of weeks ago. You needed appointments, and it was very difficult to sometimes get those appointments. What was online was a confusing process, etc. At this point, what you can do is you can call us 718-933-2034. We will tell you a site that is close to you, and we'll tell you when they're open, so you could just walk in. So I think the state is doing a little bit better in that regard, but at this point, then it is as they're doing better, it's up to us to make sure that we encourage people in our community to go and get vaccinated so that we can go back to some level of normalcy.
Final question. Got about a minute left in our segments and our time together, but I want to ask you, for people who are in your district, what can they look forward to coming up this summer?
Well, as long as you are vaccinated, I'm a one-trick pony in this regard. I want to make sure that I get this message out there. What they can expect is for my office to be back doing events out in public. We will very likely be reopening the office kind of in a limited capacity in the next couple of weeks, as all of my staff is vaccinated and we get more people vaccinated out there. We want to make sure that we continue to be accessible to the public, but what they can expect in the summer, as long as we do the right thing and we get vaccinated, we keep safe, is that we will get back to a somewhat level of normalcy. And I'm hoping to be able to see some of my neighbors out there in the weeks and months to come.
Yeah. Senator Gustavo Rivera from District 33, thank you so much for joining us here on the Social Justice Forum.
It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to coming back.